Thank you, Ron. It's always a pleasure to be part of Angelbeat, and we appreciate all of those who have attended today. I'll turn off my camera so that you guys can just focus on the slide deck. I'm going to go through some slides pretty quick to kind of make sure everybody knows who Allot is. And then David Marshall, my associate, will kind of do a deep dive into our technology of why it's so imperative in the e-commerce retail space today. So next slide, Dave. So our agenda is pretty basic for today. It's a short session. You know, we want you to kind of know who we are, give you an idea of our customer base. We'll talk a little bit about the digital transformation process and how that relates to your customer, and then our value proposition from, you know, where we play and why people look at Allot to implement our solution, along with our key capability and use cases. Next slide. I think one of the key elements that people want to know when they maybe don't recognize your name is how long have you been in the industry? You know, give me an idea of the quick facts of growth, things of that nature. I think from this slide you can see we've been around for a long time. We keep adding employees. We're encroaching over 900 now. We're stable. We're on the NASDAQ. So it kind of gives you that double growth, pretty steady income basis of where we're heading. We have two divisions. One is the Tier 1 division, so a lot of names that you would recognize in the 5G network that we've been handling for many years. And then I'm responsible for North America and Canada for all other enterprise groups. Next slide. Quick snapshot just of some names I'm sure you'll recognize to give you an idea of customer base. We can't squeeze everybody in, but it's always good for people to see, okay, you know, who they're dealing with, size, scope, things of that nature. Next slide. So let's dive into it a little bit. You know, in the retail space, obviously based on the pandemic, right? E-commerce really took a big, large increase. Everybody adapted, and, you know, change, as they say in our industry, is always on the rise, right? We're always looking at things, are always adapting just based upon the environment. And COVID definitely made everybody take a look at how they need to run their business and how they need to adapt. When you think about that, more than $1 in every 5 was spent on a retail purchase during that quarter. You know, you have to have the system to back that up. And we played a key role in that in order to allow that transition of customers that maybe went on-prem or used to go to a store, that now they were buying everything online. And then how do you handle that congestion and volume that all of a sudden is hitting your network? Next slide. I think there's 3 things that, you know, from Allot's perspective of dealing within the retail market, yes, there was that increase, as I mentioned, in the digital experience for, you know, customers that everybody had to handle and deal with. We also had the visibility and control for those who were in the hybrid cloud adoption space. And then also just based upon, we'll call it the influx of e-commerce, a lot of our customers added one of our security solutions, which I'll let David talk about a little bit, but our license is embedded into the code where we can mitigate a DDoS attack. So when you look at our assurance program of where we align and where we play and what, you know, priorities we do, we have the ability to optimize dynamically by application, by location, user. It could be a VLAN, right? So we get very granular in our approach. And again, I don't want to steal David's thunder, but I'm giving you that 10,000 view right now. Go again, David. One, there you go. So our 3 mantras, okay, is basically everybody who knows us knows that we have the C, control, secure. So when you look at our device, it is absolutely a bump on the wire sitting between your core switch and router, seeing all traffic inbound and outbound. And then we can dynamically see that traffic, of course, report on it, things of that nature. And then we give you control of what's mission critical to you. So again, It can be tweaked and tuned to your specific needs or locations or application. And it can be based on time, day, week, or even, like I talked about, user, VLAN groups, geographic locations. And then there's a number of security options that we also play in. So I'm going to turn this over to David Marshall at this point. Let him dive into that nitty-gritty that I talked about and get a little bit granular with everybody. David, the floor is yours.
Yeah, hey, thanks guys. So thanks Bob and the Angelbeat team for letting us present today. Yeah, just to go off what Bob has been talking about is the digital experience monitoring, and that's a new quadrant that they have about digital experience. What we're talking about is network. So we sit at layer 2 on the network. We're able to do QoE measuring, basically monitor the system, that C portion of the network. We're able to continuously monitor user data that's going through. So we're profiling them. We're understanding what each user is doing on the network, their applications. We're able to do that because we have the DART technology. So we have a lot of experience in understanding what type of applications are on the network. We do a lot of signature-based. Our signatures are updated every 2 weeks, and we're able to keep up with the network and understand exactly what's going on out there on the application layer. And then obviously the advanced analytics. Then on top of that, we have the control aspect of it. So we can do QoE assurance. So once you see your network and we understand the QoE and where it is, we can improve upon that by issuing rules. And those rules can be based on a number of conditions. Those conditions can be VLAN, IP, they could be per application, they could be by DSCP marking. And then all of that context can be put into policies at that point. We can even integrate into Active Directory or DHCP option 82 and start doing very granular per user type of policies or per groups of users type of policies. And that can be obviously on ingress or egress shaping. We can do dynamic queuing. And then obviously we can scale to the network. So we're in a lot of our customers. We started out as a service provider or servicing the service provider networks, and we're keeping all of that features and functionalities and bringing it into the enterprise market. And so to go on here, the C portion, this is just a quick view of our analytics dashboard. Here, we're going to give you a 360 granular view of the network. Again, going through the network traffic, the user behavior, the applications that your users are using. So if they're in that store, you can see whether they're going to one domain or another. Maybe they're going to your competition. We're able to give you that analytics, give you that score of each application, and help you understand and answer any question that's going on your network. Again, right into that user, how they use their resources, identifying unsanctioned IT applications that may be on there and maybe blocking them versus for employees versus customers, that kind of thing. The control aspect of it, we can do real-time traffic management, adjust IP flows dynamically, and to control those applications and BYOD applications in a data center type environment. And as Bob had mentioned earlier, we do have a security aspect of that. This is on top of that layer 2. We is just a license on top of it. We do volumetric DDoS at layer 3 and layer 4. At layer 2 on the network, so basically a bump in a wire, we're able to look at that and detect and mitigate DDoS attacks on the network. So use cases, you really have to understand where we are on the network. Again, we're at that layer 2, so we're at that egress, ingress through the internet. We're there at that private cloud or at that private cloud or remote branch, and we're able to understand the traffic that's going on. We're able to identify each user over the network and then apply policies either to at that underlay network or even at that overlay network if you have an SD-WAN implementation, or provide input into that SD-WAN. Again, not all traffic goes over your MPLS networks or over your overlay network. There is some direct access and direct access VPN that we can shape that traffic that goes right out to the internet. Obviously, if you're thinking about cloud or public cloud and you have remote locations, you want to understand what traffic is going on that. You want to be able to prioritize different applications and users. You can do that at that remote office. You can also do that at that data center, depending on if that traffic's sitting out there. And then again, because we understand the application, we can help you in that transition to your public cloud. We're able to protect the private cloud and public cloud by identifying those the HTTPS or the encrypted traffic, and be able to shed light on what traffic is going on the network. Our intelligent platform, or our traffic intelligence platform, we're installed or can be installed on COTS equipment. We have an ACG, SSG, and SG that's installed on top of either Dell, HP, or Lenovo COTS server. We're able to take care of that private cloud virtualization on VMware or Red Hat, as well as supported all the major public clouds. And here I've listed AWS, Google Cloud, and Azure. And a quick demo, I hope I have enough time. So here, what we have is just SLA enforcement. And so here's a typical branch office, and this is from one of our dashboards. It's actually part of our dashboard, where it's showing that an application is using majority of the network. It's the majority of the bandwidth on the network. It's just one application. And that negatively affects, obviously, the other users. The other users are going to complain that all their bandwidth is being used, or their application is slow. And here, what we can do is, on a per session basis, put policies in place that even out that network share, give them basically a fair share of the network, allowing more resources to be able to be used, being able to dynamically allocate policies by dynamically allocating that bandwidth across all services. Here's just a quick, we can give you a quick dashboard score. This was before, where it showed that you had some applications that were being negatively affected, because at that point we had a mail, or maybe it's FTP happening, and we weren't controlling that network correctly. Here we also give it on a score based on the time of day, and actually day here as well. And then after we were able to put policies into place, this of course is an example. Everybody is going to be in a good mood here, because their digital experience is going to be better. They're no longer complaining about that application on that network.